Prepare yourself for Earthling Entertainment, the perfect blend of paranormal and pop culture, with your host, Joe Wakefield and Ryan Lang.
Greetings, and welcome to another episode of Earthling Entertainment with Joe Wakefield and Ryan Lang.
Hey, I'm your host who's debating whether or not to open that demonic puzzle box I was given from a weird courier, Joe Wakefield.
I come in peace. Hi, I'm Ryan Lang.
Hi. So, guys, if you are returning listeners, I'd love to remind you to please hit that download button. It is the best way to support the show. And if you are a new listener, you might be asking, what is this show? What do you guys do? Yeah.
I mean,
it's a fair question, I
It
guess.
is.
Yeah.
I do this every week, and I love this part.
Well, what we do here normally, we got to put a little asterisk. What we do here is a little bit of the spooky, a little bit of the creepy. Sometimes it's cryptozoology. Other times it's a haunting or a legend or a myth, but it's always spooky. And that is why it is in our first section, which we love to lovingly call spooky stuff.
Yeah.
That is followed by a little segment that we call Disclosure Discussion, which is all about aliens.
I'm just asking questions. UFO stories, any photos, new videos that have come out, interdimensional stories, time travel, anything that goes into those lines, that's what we talk about.
That's right. And then the second half of the show, the latter half, if you will, is all dedicated to pop culture and entertainment. Sometimes that's movie news, or we have a celebrity guest, or we talk about unfortunate celebrity deaths. We do trivia games. We do audio dramas. It's all entertainment. Sometimes video games, sometimes plays, sometimes music, sometimes movies. But if it's pop culture, it's in part 2. And then those two segments, the first, which is the spooky, the second, which is the pop culture, come together to form the delicious moon pie of a podcast known as Earthling Entertainment. Welcome.
Welcome, and we hope we have some laughs in between these stories as well.
That is kind of our thing. So, guys, normally we do what we just said. We have that normal structure of the show. But this, as well as the couple surrounding it, are going to be bottle episodes. We're focusing on a singular topic. It's a little different than we normally do. It's only going to be for about a month, so we hope you enjoy the ride. This one is, we're talking about the red planet, Mars. There's a lot of things to talk about Mars. We have plenty of spooky stuff. We have plenty of pop culture. Ryan, what are your impressions of the red planet?
Ever since I was a kid, like everybody always said, like, oh, the face on Mars. Remember that photo?
I do.
And they're like, oh, they tried to like debunk, but I'm like, I don't know. So I was always really into Mars. I was always pretty certain. I am definitely certain that life for sure was there. Whether or not it is there, other than like maybe microbial stuff under the ice there, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I do believe that there's definitely something living there if we're talking microbes, right?
Yeah.
And I also agree that everyone agrees pretty much in the scientific community that there's a good chance that it was a more Earth-like planet.
Yeah, like millions of years ago, if not more.
Yeah, and then some of the arguments are that it wasn't Earth-like long enough to develop any kind of life, and others are, well, no, we have no way of knowing that. There could be, just because we don't find dinosaur bones, and I should say yet. It's not like our rovers are digging for that.
I mean, or have they?
Dun, dun, dun.
They do some wacky experiments.
They do.
But
if you jump into the future and think about basically humans moving out into the galaxy, we're gonna have to do that, or our species is pretty much gonna die as soon as the planet dies.
Yeah.
And the first stop, if not the moon, is gonna be Mars.
I mean, it sounds like that's the idea, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think the other one was one of the moons of Saturn, I think was the other one.
I think it was Titan.
Yeah,
I think
because
so.
it's very Earth-like from what we actually can see. It actually has an atmosphere.
Very interesting.
So that is very interesting. So I have a feeling that, yeah, Mars makes sense,
Well,
obviously, because it's the closest.
It's the closest, but my favorite depiction of Mars colony is from Total Recall 1980. I think it's 85. I'm not sure.
Oh
Arnold
my gosh.
Schwarzenegger. Do you remember that
I
one?
do remember that one. And they did the funniest thing when in the part where he was outside Like in the atmosphere, that's like the famous where his face is all like
Yeah, so at the
morphing.
climax of the film, Arnold Schwarzenegger finds himself on Mars with obviously very little or no atmosphere, and his eyes start bulging out, and he gets
Yeah.
all ridiculous looking. That's what Ryan's talking about. It was a great scene because it was all about him turning on a machine that was created by an extraterrestrial race to basically terraform Mars to give it an atmosphere.
That's
And this
right.
is so far in the future that like the original colonists of Mars, due to radiation and other things, have basically become a little bit mutated. So the mutants
Just a little.
are kind of basically being prosecuted by the normies, and the corporation runs it all, and they're basically selling oxygen to people, and it's a lot of really really great stuff. And that original Total
It really
Recall
was
movie.
ahead of its time.
Do you remember there was the mutant that we find out, spoilers for a very old movie. There's a mutant who's coming out of the
Yeah,
chest, and it's
yeah.
Quaid, start the reactor being the machine that terraforms
And,
Mars.
and I remember seeing that referenced in the show Metalocalypse.
And South Park.
Yep, Nathan Explosion like lifted his shirt and he was just like, "Oh, you want to meet my brother Grotto?" And he like lifts it up and he's just like, and like Grotto just like starts vomiting and stuff. Like everyone in the audience is vomiting.
Yeah, right. And because that was definitely a take, because it was Quado, I think.
Yeah, it was Quado.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So it's but seen a lot of reference, and
Well,
I think that's the famous Arnold scream that gets made
when he's getting killed out
Yeah.
the end of when the atmosphere's going. Well, the reason why I bring it up is I think it's based on a book, I'm pretty sure, because when they made a remake in 2012 starring Colin Farrell, I hear that is more closely, it was more of the book, right? It was less, and the movie kind of went off on its own thing. The remake didn't even have Mars, man.
Well, see, then there you go. That's
Like,
a mistake.
Mars wasn't even in it. It was between Australia and like the United States, and they had an elevator that like went through the Earth's core, and I guess the colonies were the version of Mars. It was a really weird.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you would remake something that is so good
And iconic.
and then use the original source material. And I know it sounds funny to say that, but it became something else. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if you were going to do a version of the Total Recall book and it was everything that the movie wasn't, why not adapt that book and just change the name from Total Recall and just let the movie steal the name? Because the movie changed what it was. It's my same argument for Starship Troopers. Is the new one coming out is going to be based on the original book, which was very different than the movie that we loved.
Yeah.
So is it, I don't know how I feel about it.
I got an idea, Joe. We're gonna remake Dragonheart, but instead of a dragon, it's gonna be a bunny.
Oh my God, I'm in.
It's gonna be a bunny.
Oh my God, can we call it Fluffy Tail instead of Dragonheart? And you have
Yes,
to like
yes.
transplant your tail from the bunny to it. Just
And-
basically sew on a fluffy tail to a human to give him the powers of the bunny.
I will only do it if we are given the rights to use an AI generated Sean Connery still for the voice. I still need Sean Connery
Well, you
to
know,
be the bunny.
a lot of very famous actors had done the voice of the dragon in the Dragonheart series. The last one was Helen Bonham Carter.
You're right. I guess we could stretch
Patrick
there.
Stewart was one.
Okay.
All right. So I would propose.
Patrick Stewart would be a great dragon.
I would propose. It was number 3. I would propose Keith David. Keith David is the African American gentleman who has the really deep voice. There's no way I could mimic it. So you would recognize him if you saw him.
I was gonna say
He played the boar in The Princess Mononoke. He was Elroy in season 6 of Community.
I'd have to see him. I can't put a
fair
face.
enough. Fair enough.
But no, I mean, so yeah, I'm just saying. Like, I agree with you. I was trying to be funny, but yeah, like it is weird. You change like something that's like quite literally one of the biggest parts of the story.
I mean, like I said, it became something else. But just another like colony on Mars idea that I really, really liked was I was thinking of, we were talking about the idea of sequels if we were making a weird sequel, right? So there's a movie in the 80s that came out called The Blob. That was a remake of an older movie called The Blob. But long story short, the end of The Blob, spoiler for The Blob, there's a priest who's insane. And he's basically like, when God gives me a sign, I'm going to end the world. Because after everything that happens in the film and the blob is destroyed, it is revealed that he has a jar with a little bit of the blob still in it. So my idea for this sequel takes place because a lot of films do this. Jason went to space. We had a Leprechaun go to space. Everyone goes to space. Even Hellraiser went to space. So it takes place 200-300 years in the future, and that crazy priest. By the way, the original script was written by Frank Darabont, so pretty cool.
Okay.
That original priest is passed down this jar with this piece of the blob in it, and just basically telling all of his successors, like, when you see the time to end the world, this is, you let it loose. And we get to the point where it's in the future and it's a Mars colony, and that's when they let it out. So you could have the whole sci-fi terror of being not able to leave this encapsulated city, whatever it is, or or space station, and the blob trying to get you.
Where it's like he brought his cat with him, and like the cat just batted the jar off the table, and it broke open.
Oh shit! Like it's not even like on purpose. Maybe the last priest is really, really bad at his job. He's just drunk and falls over and knocks into it.
Oops.
Your cat idea is funnier though.
I'm just saying, just the cat, just. And we could,
yeah.
and we'll even give a tip of the hat to Alien. We'll name it the same name as the cat from Alien.
Oh my god! Now you make me. I want to remember the name. I don't remember it.
I don't remember, but she had a name because I remember Ripley saw her tag and was like and said it out loud.
Well, since you bring up Alien, which has nothing to do with our show today, which is Mars, I will say that I have a board game called Alien: Fate of the Nostromo, and or the Nostromo. I always say it wrong. And in that, you can basically land on a piece where the alien jumps out and gets you, but sometimes it's that cat and it's a jump scare, like in the board game. You know what I mean?
That's funny.
So clever use of that cat. That cat is an important part of the Alien franchise.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, it is important. Like, the cat died, I believe, right in Alien. She woke up, she survived the freezing, but did the cat? I think the cat did survive.
Maybe the cat made it all the way to Alien.
I can't remember.
I don't think it made it to 3, though. I think we replaced the cat with Newt.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I gotta watch those again. But anyways, yes. Back to Mars.
Back to Mars.
Back to Mars. And it's like, it's interesting because you hear so many things. It's like, I'm a believer in that there could be underground civilizations here on Earth that we have no understanding of. So who are we to?
So there's mole people on Earth?
There could be mole people on Earth. There could be mole people on Mars who are underground where the radiation, doesn't really get through. They can survive. They have survived.
Yeah, like let's say whatever the cataclysm is. I think the major belief is a giant meteor hit Mars once, it threw it off its axis and like dissipated a lot of the atmosphere, and that's how it became barren. That's like the main one I've heard. But some ancient alien theorists are saying that they think maybe it was nuclear bombs and it was a straight up civilization that nuked themselves into oblivion. I always like the one where, and I'm pretty close to subscribing to this as an actual belief of mine, where we came from Mars. We are original inhabitants of Mars. And whether it was our fault or not, the planet got fucked up and we came to Earth. And there's a lot of things that support that. Like if we are in space, our circadian rhythm, like our sleep cycle, reverts to the exact day as a Mars day.
Yeah, I heard that.
There's the idea that we are more prone to skin cancer because we are closer to the sun than we're actually made to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of fun things behind we are the Martians, Ryan.
Right. No, I have heard that one as well, that we are just in somewhere along the line, all the information got lost. Like we forgot something happened.
Yeah. Well, with that on your mind, you think you want to jump into our first section, spooky stuff?
Let's do it, dude.
Okay, guys. So
blast off.
Prepare for our all Mars episode on this week's spooky stuff.
Mars, the fourth planet from the sun, has appeared as a setting in works of science fiction since at least the mid-1600s. Around the late 1800s, the belief that there are canals on Mars emerged and made its way into lore, popularized by Percival Lowell's speculations of an ancient civilization having constructed them.
I mean, it makes sense because if you look up at the moon, you do see the lines.
Yes.
And I think they're still named the canals.
I believe so too. And so like back then, they were like, well, obviously someone made these. they weren't thinking about, oh, these are maybe dried up river, like where
Whatever, yeah.
yeah. The War of the Worlds.
Ooh, love that book. I actually have a very old version of it. Not one that's worth too much, but early 1900s.
Oh, it's definitely a big part of today's spooky stuff. The War of the Worlds, which H.G. Wells' novel about an alien invasion of Earth by sinister Martians, was published in 1897 and went on to have a major influence on the science fiction genre as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely.
Life on Mars appeared frequently in popular culture throughout the first half of the 1900s. Some Martians were depicted as enlightened, as in the utopian works from the turn of the century, or evil, as in the works inspired by Wells. Intelligent and human-like Martians began to be depicted as decadent, which is a portrayal that was popularized by Edgar Rice Burroughs in the Barsoom series and was adopted by many others. More exotic life forms appeared in stories like Stanley G. Weinbaum's A Martian Odyssey.
Huh. I always liked the version of aliens where they were just basically godlike, like so above it all.
Yeah.
Like, here's our technology. Like, we don't want war. Like, everything's fine. Like the Peace Lovin', like basically the Star Trek idea of the future.
Yeah.
Rather than the dystopian one, which is kind of so popular now. Like, everything is doom and gloom. I kind of like a little twist of it where it's like, okay, no. What if these aliens show up like the Vulcans and help us along the way instead of just try to kill us?
Well, and that's kind of part of a lot of the ancient lore is that's why I love that. And
the idea that pretty much the whole ancient alien theory, especially, well, I mean, the Anunnaki did it for selfish reasons, but technically did create us in that origin myth that Zechariah Sitchin popularized.
like even Twilight Zone had nice aliens. Like some of them were actually, like, by the end of the episode, you kind of find out that they were kind of just helping him all along and stuff like they had a couple of those as well as the evil ones, of course.
I liked the original War of the Worlds. I thought we had a pretty good message, which is pretty much just like, hey guys, you got to quit fucking around. Like, we're not here to really be jerks about it, but you're doing nukes, you're destroying the planet, you're screwing up. You want to be part of this big galactic group of, like, basically the UN of space. Then shape up.
Yep, this is why aliens don't talk to us. The theme of colonizing Mars, we were just talking about, replaced stories about native inhabitants of the planet in the second half of the 1900s, following emerging evidence of the planet seeming to be inhospitable to life by this point. A significant minority of works persisted in portraying Mars in a nostalgic way, however, including Ray Bradbury's The Martian Chronicles.
Yeah. I mean, the idea of going somewhere and just living there where it's inhospitable to us. For some reason, as humans, we can't help. We want to go to the bottom of the ocean. We want to go to the middle of the Arctic.
We're curious.
There's a planet that we could step on. We want to go there. If there was a way for us to interact with Jupiter besides just being smashed because of the pressure, we would figure it out and do it.
Mm-hmm. No, and that's what makes us, unique. Yeah. And that's why I believe that aliens are checking us out, because I mean, we have the potential. Terraforming Mars to enable human habitation has been another major theme, especially in the final quarter of the century. The most prominent example being Kim Stanley Robinson's Mars trilogy. In the year 2000, science fiction scholar Gary Westphal estimated that the total number of works dealing with Mars up to that point to exceed 5,000, and the planet has continued to make frequent appearances across several genres and forms of media sense. Mars became the most popular extraterrestrial location in the late 1800s. A recurring theme in this time period was that of reincarnation on Mars, reflecting an upswing in interest in the paranormal in general and in relation to Mars in particular.
Okay, that's awesome.
I found that really interesting.
Yeah, I never heard that before. Like the idea that if you were reincarnated, you'd be reincarnated on Mars. Now, are we talking as a human or as any creature? Like, is it the Buddhist idea of it where you could be a worm or a bird? Or is it just, I'm another human, but now on Mars?
Well, it's like, was Beetlejuice right? Because remember, they step out and they fall onto Mars with the sandworm.
Yes.
And then when he sees him later, he's like, oh, you've been to Mars? I've been to Mars. Hey, sandworms.
Fair enough, but they retconned that because in the Beetlejuice sequel, Jenna Ortega's character jumps out and they're in that desert area. She looks up and sees Saturn and says, it must be one of the moons of Saturn.
Oh, I missed that part.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, if he's like, you've been to Mars, I've been to Mars. If that was indicating the sandworms were from Mars in that first movie, then they retconned it in the second one, Ryan.
I swear to God it was, or was it Saturn? Gosh, I'm gonna have to rewatch that. I thought for sure I had that right.
I don't know. Movies retcon stuff. You can't really help it when it's 30 years later.
Yeah.
So I thought they handled dealing with the dad who was obviously
Oh my
not going to
gosh.
be in the film pretty well.
Oh, I honestly loved Beetlejuice. That was great.
A lot of plot holes. It wasn't a great movie, but I loved it. Is
I
that
love-
weird?
No,
Is that weird?
No,
Yeah.
no. You're allowed to, you love it. You love that shit.
Yeah.
I love Beetlejuice. All of us did. We grew up on it.
I mean, it was almost as good as the greatest cinematic achievement of a generation, which was, of course, the 1993 Super Mario Brothers movie.
The description and origin of no, I'm kidding.
Ryan is never going to acknowledge it anymore. All right, just continue.
The description and origin of Martians in The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells is considered to be the most widely accepted version of the extraterrestrial. The main focus of Martian anatomy is their brains and elongated heads.
Not too bad of an ass either.
Although they do have a heart. Focus on their heart, Joe. I'm up here. Although they do have a heart and a bulky set of lungs.
All right,
They-
hold on. I want to just pause you there for a second. You started talking about a description of a Martian. Well, obviously, we haven't found a Martian. So what is this? Is this referring to
this is
certain literature or what?
Yes, I was saying the description and origin of Martians in The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells is considered to be the widely accepted version of the extraterrestrial.
All right, thank you.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. So I was kind of going off of that. So this is what was described in War of the Worlds. The main focus of the Martian anatomy is their brains and elongated heads. Although they do have a heart and a bulky set of lungs, they lack any sort of digestive system, and so they feed via blood transfusion from other beings. On Mars, there were humanoid creatures native to the planet. On Earth, human beings are used as a substitute. Their reduced muscular system means that they don't need to sleep and, in fact, are constantly active. Martians reproduce asexually by growing polyps on their sides of their bodies, having no actual gender. Martians are speculated to be vulnerable to Earth-borne bacteria, of which their immune systems can't cope. Little is known about the Martian language. They have been theorized to use telepathy to communicate, but no other contact between them was observed other than what was described as a stress call.
You know what's really funny though is I loved, and I read the book a long time ago. So going by what I have more recent in my memory was the Steven Spielberg film, which I also really did enjoy.
Yeah, me too.
Steven Spielberg has some tropes where it's all about there's a lot of parent and father and kids and things in his movies. So he elaborated on this whole story with the children, which was really good for a movie. But I now that I'm thinking about it, he didn't talk about the aliens pretty much at all in the film.
No.
Like we didn't get any of that. Like the aliens attacked and then we have our ending, but he doesn't talk about the anatomy or alien life or any of that. We see how they feed via blood transfusion, which by the way makes a lot of sense because when that book was written in the 1800s, late 1800s, without looking it up, I assume that was a pretty new concept is a blood transfusion. So it was probably pretty sci-fi. It'd be like a writer today talking about AI generated images or something.
I agree. Yeah, no, and it was pretty freaky. The most famous scare of an invasion from Mars came from a radio broadcast in the 1930s.
Oh yeah.
Could not talk about this. The War of the Worlds was a Halloween episode of the radio series The Mercury Theater on the Air, directed and narrated by Orson Welles as an adaptation of H.G. Wells's novel The War of the Worlds, which came out in 1898. That was performed and broadcast live at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on October 30th, 1938, over the CBS radio network. That sentence was a mouthful.
Absolutely.
The episode is infamous for inciting a panic by convincing members of the listening audience that a Martian invasion was taking place. And everybody's heard about this.
Everyone's heard about this, but you know what? If you want to see a movie about it, there's this awesome film that came out in 2016 called Brave New Jersey. And it is the story of one town in New Jersey who freak out due to this broadcast. And
Yeah.
has an ensemble cast, a lot of fun. And I don't know. I guess I'm plugging the movie simply because I like it.
Oh no, of course, man, and it's relevant. It's relevant.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was so funny, and they say it was all like just a freak timing because there was a more popular show going on, and then they kind of went to a break. So during the break, everybody switched to the radio broadcast that was doing the book, and they had obviously missed the beginning where they're like, "This is just a
This is a story.
right," and they were just like, "Oh my god!"
They're like, wait, what happened? There's an alien attack?
Because it does sound real when
Yeah.
like I've listened to it.
And at no point is Orson Welles like, by the way, this is a telling of H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds.
They probably opened with that, but
Yeah.
like I said, by the time everybody tuned in from the more popular program, they had missed that, and they only caught literally the report where they're coming. And
Can you
blah, 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 like-
imagine? You're just like flipping the radio and you're just like, we're all gonna die. Wait, what?
and this is in the 30s. I mean, you know what I mean. You can't give it a Google. You can't check out. You know.
Yeah. Because like what you ask your neighbors and they're like, well, it's on our radio too. Like, of
Well,
course, yeah.
Well, it's happening. Like that was it. That was all you needed.
Oh shit! Because you have to imagine that I don't know how close it was to the book. I imagine pretty close because it was a telling of War of the Worlds. But I'm just saying how many people read the book around that time. Because the 1930s, the book's been out for, let's say, 50 years roughly, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. But how many people read? I don't want to be
I mean,
silly
it'd been
about-
out for 30 years, so I mean, I assume it would have been a pretty popular book.
Yeah, but that's the thing is like, was reading for leisure something that the working man did casually?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't think the average
I know it
person could
sounds
read that
silly.
well actually back then, but
Well,
I
that's
could be,
kind-
yeah.
That's what I'm saying is like we're speculating, but like I don't know. Out of all the things I've looked at up in history, it wasn't the average citizen's level of reading
That's true.
because
So-
education wasn't really high unless you had money, right?
well, and that makes sense why they would want to turn it into a radio show, right? Like 'cause that way,
More audience.
yeah. So here's another interesting one. Declassified CIA documents from 1984 reveal a bizarre project that supposedly discovered alien life on Mars. The file is simply labeled as Mars Exploration, May 22nd, 1984.
All right.
But inside, and I actually saw the actual I could have straight up downloaded the document. It's available if you want it.
Yeah. What is the Freedom of Information Act? So you could download the actual report from
Yep.
the CIA.
Yeah,
or-
it comes right up. But inside, there's mention of a test subject who used astral projection to visit the red planet and expose its long-lost secrets. The file reads, the planet Mars, time of interest, approximately 1 million years BC. With the psychic subject given geographic coordinates, they apparently observed an oblique view of a pyramid or pyramid form. The interviewer asked them to move to the time indicated in the envelope. They apparently witnessed some very large people in the file. The subject says, I'm seeing, it's like a perception of a shadow of people, very tall, thin. It's only its shadow.
So
he
are you
said.
are you imagining like a Slender Man shape in your head almost?
Like almost like a tall gray, actually.
I mean, to be fair, if it's silhouetted in shadow, you can't really get any definition. So if without a comment of how big the head is in proportion to its body, I don't know, man.
Right. So when going back to a period of time when this elder race is, the subject claimed they'd built pyramids to take shelter from an incoming storm. He said it's like a strictly functional place for sleeping, or that's not a good word, hibernations, some form. I get real raw inputs. Storm, savage storm, and sleeping through storms.
Dude, okay, so I love this because if their atmosphere and if it was a civilization and their atmosphere is kind of like getting dissipated, that's going away. Maybe it was the meteor, like I talked about earlier. Maybe it's something else. The idea that they had used pyramids as to kind of like a Noah's Ark and put themselves in some sort of suspended animation in there
Mhm.
is really, really cool for several reasons. One, you think of if we come across these pyramids on Mars, maybe we could still find these alien races still hibernating. Two, if it did visit Earth back in the day and maybe created us like a slave race, like the Anunnaki believe, or like Zachariah Stitchin said the Anunnaki did.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It may be that all of our pharaohs and all of our pyramids and people being in sarcophaguses was us sarcophagi. What if that was just replicating what we saw these aliens do with their
Right.
hibernation chambers, and that is why we make mummies, which has been speculated in a lot of different ancient alien beliefs. But I'm just
Mhm.
saying that's a fun little connection to all that. What if that's the reason why, Ryan?
That makes sense. I mean, that's in most of the sci-fi things that we talk about, where in order to go to another planet, it's going to take months, so you have to go into like a hypersleep, right?
Yeah. So the technology would be there, especially if they were visiting Earth. Assuming they don't have a propulsion system that's better than ours.
Right, right. So he sees them, sleeping through these
The
storms.
psychic, right?
Yeah, yeah, and he's referring to them as ancient people. The subject reiterated it's past their time and they were dying. They're very philosophic and sick about it. They're looking for a way to survive and they just can't.
They just can't.
That's harsh.
That is harsh. But what if they could? And what if that, like I said, was the theory that we come from Mars?
But
But
this
if
is 1 million BC. Like, so
I mean,
this would be a little off track. But I mean, I thought that was really, really interesting. So Mars, Martians, and little green men has always been a staple in the realm of extraterrestrial fantasy, lore, and exploration. Who knows? Maybe there is a vast underground civilization on Mars that we have no idea exists.
mole people.
Maybe they're already here.
Maybe.
Maybe we're all really Martians.
That's right.
A notable quote from H.G. Wells's The War of the Worlds is, "By the toll of 1 billion deaths, man has bought his birthright of Earth, and it is his against all comers."
Dumb. Spooky stuff.
Spooky stuff. That was Mars. Spooky stuff, y'all. And I hope you guys enjoyed that. And if there's anything you want to add, or you think that you want to add, tell us, let us know. Sorry, I don't know why I stumbled on myself there. Earthling Entertainment podcast at gmail.com.
That's right.
Sorry, that was just like, there was like getting it out, man. It was like, that felt good. That was
Fair
a good
enough.
spooky stuff.
If I may, what Ryan was trying to say, if you guys have anything that you have theories about Mars, or anything that you've heard in the news or on a
Yes.
conspiracy site that you'd like to talk to us about that we maybe will mention into a future episode, then you can email us at earthlingentertainmentpodcast@gmail.com or message us on our Facebook.
Thank you, Joe.
No worries. You just read like a whole big article,
Yeah.
and I understand you're getting a little tongue tied. I'm not going to kill
I
you
got
for
a
it.
little tongue tied.
That's
You're
okay.
right.
It happens. It happens.
That's precisely the definition of what just happened.
Let's do disclosure discussion.
Let's do the disclosure discussion.
So, guys, like we mentioned earlier, this one's all about aliens, even little ones.
Disclosure discussion. Ha 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 ha. It's about aliens and stuff.
NASA's Viking missions may have accidentally killed Martian life 50 years ago.
Wah, wah.
This comes to us from syfy.com. In the 1970s, NASA sent 2 twin missions, Viking 1 and Viking 2, to the Red Planet. Each mission consisted of an orbiter and a lander, allowing astronomers to observe Mars from 2 vantage points. Viking 1 touched down on the western slope of Mars's Chryse Planitia on July 20th, 1976. Viking 2 landed at Utopia Planitia a couple of months later on September 3rd, 1976.
Yeah, edging our bets.
They were the United States' first successful landing missions to Mars and set the stage for decades of successful Martian surface exploration. Notably, the Soviet Mars 3 lander beat the U.S. to the surface of Mars, but failed shortly after landing, having returned only a single unintelligible image. The primary mission for Viking was to gather high-resolution photos from the surface of Mars. The Viking landers achieved that mission big time, sending back the first clear photos from another world.
Yeah, and people have been looking over those photos for years, pointing out rocks, things they think are pyramids, things they think are ships. A few weeks ago, we talked about the Tic Tac that they believe
That's
they
right.
found.
That just happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. That's from a new one.
Have you ever looked through those photos?
Oh yeah, I've seen tons of videos. I used to watch a channel on YouTube called Secure Team, and
Sure.
he would always go through all those things. He did it for the moon. He did it for all the Mars photos. It was really fascinating.
Well, if you start looking at them too long, you do start seeing stuff, whether it's there or not. I was pretty sure I saw Bigfoot on the moon. I mean
Mhm.
on Mars. I'm just saying it's kind of like when you're playing too much Grand Theft Auto. You shouldn't go for a drive. I'm just it's just a good idea.
Oh, look, a sailboat. Sorry, I had to make it like if you look long enough, you'll see the sailboat.
Mallrats reference.
So the rovers, they weren't sent to Mars to just be tourists, though. Each lander was also equipped with a set of experimental instruments intended to search for signs of Martian life. A suite of experiments were carried out, two of which showed initial signs consistent with the presence of life.
Yeah, I think one was they basically took the they took the soil, they took a sample, they put it in an airtight thing, and then with different chemicals or whatever, they saw if it made bubbles
Hmm.
because only organic material would exhale carbon dioxide or something like that.
Yeah,
So they believe they found microbial life in that first experiment.
right. So, yeah, consistent with the presence of life. Later experiments showed inconsistent results,
Yeah.
leading scientists to conclude that Viking did not detect life. Astrobiologist Dr. Schultz Makuk has an alternative explanation suggesting that Viking may have indeed detected microbial life, but then the experimental setup killed it in the process.
Ugh, hate it when that happens.
Over the intervening decades, we've learned a lot about how life works on Earth and how it might work elsewhere. We've also sent another 8 landers to Mars, including NASA's Curiosity and Perseverance rovers, both of which are currently searching for life in their respective corners of the planet. Notably, we have encountered evidence of organic compounds, something Viking initially detected as well. So,
So there's a good chance that even though they said they didn't find anything, there's a good chance they did, and maybe we're the reason why we ultimately concluded there wasn't.
right. So it goes on to say that Schultz Makuk suggests that lack of conclusive evidence for life on Mars may have less to do with the planet and any life it is harboring, and more to do with our own assumptions. Because Earth has so much water, and because it's so crucial for life here, we assume that that must be the case elsewhere.
But it might not be.
With that in mind, the Viking experiments hydrated Martian regolith while checking for life. The idea was that if there was any life there, perhaps in a suspended state, adding water might make it more apparent.
Yeah, like freeze dried. What are those shrinky dinks?
Right, right. It's a reasonable strategy and one that is effective on Earth for a number of small organisms that haunt extreme dry environments.
Fair enough. I do want to correct. Not shrinky dinks. Those are put in the oven and they're made shrinky. I meant those little pills.
Sea monkeys.
No, I meant the little pills you put in the water and then they're like a tiny sponge dinosaur pops out.
Oh,
Yeah.
the grow a dinosaur guy.
Yeah, that's what
Oh,
I meant.
I thought you
All
were talking about sea monkeys, the little tiny little shrimp.
It's all the same thing, right? Freeze
Right.
dried shrimp, you put water and they become alive. So it makes
Yeah.
sense our scientists thought that if it's dry on Mars and there was life in the past, that it would mean it was wet. So if we
Right.
put water, we're going to grow ourselves a little microbe.
Exactly. And so yeah, it wasn't totally a bad idea.
No. I mean, a lot of smart people worked in that project. It was a good, educated guess.
Right. By contrast, there are organisms on Earth who live in water-poor environments and have adapted to thrive there. They've cooked up a number of chemical solutions for pulling all the moisture they need out of the air around them without ever needing to direct access to water. Submerging these creatures in water would make them more apparent and it would kill them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Basically, he's like, we drowned them. If we
Yeah.
any life there, we fucking drowned.
Schultz McCook likens it to an intelligent alien finding a human stranded in the desert, realizing that we need water and dumping us in the middle of the ocean. Thanks.
Ah!
Hey.
I'm kind of reminded of like Sims when you could like pick up your sim and drop him in a pool and then take away the ladder. And there's, what are you doing? No, save me now.
And like it's almost like the TikTokers that like try to get clout, like getting a meal for like a homeless guy, and they're like doing like a video like I helped this poor human, he needed water, and we're just down here like, hey, like, get us out of here.
Oh my god.
And he just got so many likes for it.
Well, I'm me.
So the underlying principle is correct, but it's too much of a good thing. While Mars very likely used to look a lot like Earth, it hasn't in quite some time. It's possible, Schultz McCook suggests, that any extant Martian life would have adapted over hundreds of millions of years to tolerate the environment of Mars as it is. Drowning them in water could explain the contradictory results from Viking.
I mean, it does make sense because everything adapts over time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's gonna, if it was there, we definitely killed it. They're just like, so here you are, you're just little microbial life on Mars, like, yeah, everything's fine, whatever. And
Exactly.
Like, and that's what we did. And they're like, oh, I guess there isn't. They're like, at first there's life, and then they're like, oh, there isn't.
It's as good of a theory as any.
Right. And it makes you wonder, like, would they be able to, even if they died though, they would still be able to detect like an organism, like, unless they just like dissipated.
I don't know how that works, right? I don't think there's tiny little microbial corpses, right?
Like, just that.
Look, they look into the microscope, and it's just, the Zelensky kids from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids in the cereal bowl, just gonna
Vikings just
there.
my bad.
Like, oh, Wayne Zelensky's gonna be mad.
Oh man.
Let's see if anyone gets that reference.
Dude, come on. I mean, I don't know. That
Honey,
is
I
pretty
Shrunk
old.
the Kid's pretty old. But to be fair, there was 2 sequels. There was Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, and then there was or Honey, I Blew Up the Baby. I don't remember if it was Kid or Baby.
Blew Up the Kid.
Then there was Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves. There was the Walt Disney, that was 1997, by the way. It was straight to video,
That's
but it was a sequel, and Rick Moranis did return.
And I did see that one.
Yeah.
I remember that one. They hung out with a Daddy Longlegs. I remember, like, it helped them get to the top of the table.
Probably.
That's like all I remember.
All I remember from that movie is the one kid had a potassium deficiency, and then he passed out, and they were like, oh man, feed him bananas. Bananas have a lot of potassium. And since 1997, that's the reason why I know bananas have a lot of potassium.
I agree. I'm not even kidding. That's totally it. That's totally it.
Also, there's going to be another Honey, I Shrunk the Kids with Josh Gad playing the young kid.
Of course. Why not? Why not?
But Rick Moranis is coming back, apparently.
Okay. Really?
Yeah.
I did see him in an interview recently, and I thought that was really cool because I know that, his kid's got to be growing by now, right? So, job well done.
Job well done. You could act again. I just, the last thing I heard about him was he was walking around New York and some random person just punched him in the face.
I did hear about that. Like, Jesus Christ, the poor guy has like been in hiding for so long and he gets punched in the fucking face.
He's been in hiding. He's been raising his kids.
But you know what I mean? He's been staying out of, you don't see him on, interviews or shows throughout the years. It's been only kind of a recent thing.
Hey, you guys liking this Mars episode?
It's a good one.
Coming June 7th, 2025, it's the 3rd annual Cryptids and Paranormal Conference held at Our House. With guest speakers Ronnie LeBlanc, Expedition Bigfoot, paranormal researcher Lyle Blackburn, ghost hunter Ron Iacovetti, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, and from Phantoms and Monsters, Lon Strickler. That's June 7th, 2025. Our House, located at 420 Adelphia Road, Farmingdale, New Jersey. Tickets are $45, available at Eventbrite. We will see you there.
Earthling Entertainment Special Report. 1. The Curiosity rover recently detected the largest organic molecules ever found on the Red Planet. This potentially indicates the presence of past habitable conditions and even the possibility of life-forming chemistry. 2. Marvin the Martian's cousin Rufus has been found dead in his apartment due to autoerotic asphyxiation. This has been an Earthling Entertainment Special Report.
Calling all comic fans, it's time to feed your brain at Green Brain Comics, where the freshest new issues, graphic novels, and manga hit the shelves every week. Whether you're looking for the hottest new series or the latest small press sensation, we've got it all. Every genre for every age, Green Brain Comics is your one-stop shop for all things graphic storytelling. Got questions? Our friendly staff knows their stuff. Whether you're a longtime fan or new to the world of comics, we've got recommendations that'll keep you coming back for more. And don't forget to check out our special events. Green Brain Comics is not just a store, it's a community. Located in East Downtown Dearborn, we are at Green Brain Comics on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Shop online at greenbraincomics.com, and remember to feed your brain at Green Brain Comics.
It's true, you made it through to the second half of the show.
Welcome to the second half of the show, the pop culture section. So today's going to be a little different. We're going to have 3 different sections in this section. That doesn't really make sense, but you get what I'm saying. 3 segments in this section.
There you go.
Three, yeah, I guess we'll go with segments.
3 dots.
3
3 bullet points.
3 bullet points. All right, so first we got a fun little quiz all about Mars movies.
Ooh.
Then we have a little history with some pop culture Mars. I don't want to give it away, but we have a little bit of a history of a film that we all lovingly call a classic, I'd like to say.
Definitely.
And then the third part is we have a Tattered Tales that takes place at a mission to Mars.
That's right.
So if those of you who don't know, occasionally we have audio dramas that are from our Tattered Tales. And think of it as like Twilight Zone. Think of it as a little bit of I don't know, Tales from the Crypt, Black Mirror.
Black Mirror, yeah.
They're self-contained stories. They're between 10 and 20 minutes, and you're going to get one today. And that would wrap up this second half of the show, our pop culture section. So you excited, Ryan?
Woo! I like games.
Right. So we're going to jump into our first thing, which is our Mars movie trivia game. Ryan, take it away.
Sometimes in pop culture and film, there's a fun phenomenon where 2 similar films are released in close proximity to each other. That happens all the time. This is usually due to some kind of idea spark making waves in Hollywood, causing 2 rival studios to develop 2 different films centered around the same subject matter. Things like Armageddon and Deep Impact, or Volcano and Dante's Peak. Well, in celebration of today's Mars-centric episode, we're going to be taking a look at 2 cinematic treasures from the year 2000. Mission to Mars and Red Planet.
Mars themed.
Our very own co-host Ryan Lang, is challenged to differentiating between these 2 blockbusters in a game we're lovingly calling Mars or Mars.
Mars or Mars?
Mission to Mars. When the first manned mission to Mars meets with a catastrophic and mysterious disaster after reporting an unidentified structure, a rescue mission is launched to investigate the tragedy and bring back any survivors.
Ooh, and that film is Mission to Mars.
Red Planet. Astronauts and their robotic dog, Amy, autonomous mapping, evaluation, and evasion, search for solutions to save a dying Earth by searching on Mars, only to have the mission go terribly awry.
Dun, dun, dun. So, Ryan, if it wasn't clear, you are going to get 10 questions, and the answer to each one of those questions is either the film Mission to Mars or the film Red Planet.
Oh, here we go. I'm so ready to lose. I haven't seen these in years.
I know. I thought about that. I was going to warn you, but then I was like, well, then he'll know them
Yeah,
all.
then I'd know too much. No, but I remember these films. These are great films.
All right, so I want you to know I didn't purposely make this hard or easy. I simply tried to find facts that were completely different than the other. Do you understand what I mean? Like, I didn't want any crossover with these questions. So that's why they are, clearly either Mission to Mars or Red Planet.
Okay.
All right, you ready for the question number 1?
Let's do it.
All right, we're going to start with a very easy one. Which of these 2 films star Val Kilmer? Is it Red Planet or Mission to Mars?
I'm going to go Red Planet.
That is correct.
Yes.
You have done it, Ryan.
Okay, sweet. That honestly, just that helps me out in differentiating, just from being like, oh my, because I know. Okay.
All right, give me a pen. I have to mark your score.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's right.
So, Ryan, are you ready for question number 2?
Yes.
Which one of these films was based on a Disney theme park ride?
Oh, that's going to have to be Mission to Mars.
That is correct.
Yes.
All
Well,
right.
that was a Disney question. So that honestly, I'm a bit of a
You're
Disney
pretty good
nerd.
at Disney?
Yeah.
All right. Well, how good are you at random facts?
I don't know.
Okay, well, this brings us to question number 3. Ryan, which of these 2 films holds a 24% critic rating on Rotten Tomatoes?
I'm gonna have to say Red Planet. Oh,
I know. No.
BS. Mission Mars was better in my opinion.
Well, Mission to Mars
If I'm remembering right.
has a 24% critic rating on Rotten Tomatoes. So that is your first one wrong, but you still got 2 out of 3. You're doing
Uncultured swine. But no, seriously. Okay, cool. All right.
You know what I liked about Mission to Mars is the reason why they go to Mars is because it was what you were talking about earlier with the face on the red planet.
Yeah.
So everyone saw the face on the red planet in the 70s or 80s or whenever that picture was taken. And some instant that happens in the film shows that it clears off the dust that was on that face. And it's a straight up metallic, like alien face.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that part.
And I believe, if I remember right, then they figured out how to operate it. It was a ship.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was very good. I mean, I remember liking it a lot. It's been a very long time since I've read it too. Seen it too. Okay, so Ryan, number 4. While both films appear to be shot exclusively in a studio, this is not the case. Which one of these films was shot on location in the Australian outback and Jordan?
I'm gonna go Mission to Mars.
No,
Oh man,
yeah.
I started off strong.
Yeah, you did. You
Dang.
did. Yeah, no, Red Planet did their shot on location, and a lot of people actually said, whether they liked the film or not, that it made a more believable Mars setting because of it.
Okay, that makes sense. Like I said, it's fuzzy.
It's fuzzy. Well, we're at number 5, all right? So after this question, we'll be halfway through.
All right.
And right now, you are 2 wrong and 2 correct.
All right, let's do this.
All right, number 5. Which of these 2 films got scientific acclaim by showing the proper behavior of fire in zero gravity?
I'll have to go Red Planet.
And that is correct,
Yes.
Ryan. Yes.
Because I remember the scene.
You do?
I think.
I feel like Tom Sizemore was the guy in that scene.
It's like, why is it? Yeah, it's like, and it's like I'm getting it mixed up with Event Horizon. He's like, you ever seen fire in zero gravity? It's beautiful. It's like liquid.
I really liked Event Horizon.
Fuck yeah.
If we could think of a way to talk about Event Horizon for long periods of time in one of these shows, we're going to do it, right?
We're gonna do it.
All right. Are you ready for number 6?
Mhm.
In which film does Tim Robbins notably sacrifice himself to save his wife by taking off his helmet while in outer space?
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna have to go Mission to Mars.
And that is correct.
Yes, gosh,
Mission
they
to
are
Mars.
so similar. It's so funny. Like, they're not, but like in my brain, I haven't seen it in so long. They're mixed.
Well, you know what? Dante's Peak and Volcano, to me, for some reason, kept getting really mixed up. I didn't have a problem doing Armageddon and Deep Impact because I liked them both for very different reasons.
Yeah,
'Cause-
Armageddon was definitely my movie. I don't think I ever even really saw Deep Impact, honestly.
Well, Armageddon was great for all the reasons that Armageddon is great, even though it was directed by, what was his name? Michael Bay.
Yeah.
So that's kind of funny
Not
to
your
me.
favorite, yeah.
Well, he's not my favorite, but that being said, that was a really good movie. And I also like The Rock he did. But then Elijah Wood was in Deep Impact. And the reason why I really like Deep Impact is they got their cake and ate it too.
Huh.
Because, you know, what happens in an asteroid movie? It either hits or it doesn't hit. And if it hits, we all die. Well, Deep Impact was smart. And they were like, what if the mission to destroy the asteroid fails? And then a piece of the meteor is going to hit Earth. So basically the big part misses us, but a small part still hits Earth. So then they can show the giant tidal wave that takes out half the United States.
Dang.
And like, it's really dramatic. So we get all these scenes of people being killed by the giant tsunami and just this all because it hits the ocean. And it's so cool climax to the film. And I loved it, but it was, like I said, they ate their cake, had their cake and ate it too.
I do remember that. I do remember seeing clips.
Yeah.
So I saw that clip with the tidal wave. I remember that.
It was good. Anyways, back to Mars. All right. Number 7.
Yes.
Which of these 2 films was originally titled Alone before being changed during pre-production? Dun, 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 dun.
Mission to Mars. Damn.
Yep, no, that would be the Red Planet. The name actually changed twice before actually getting to the Red
It
Planet.
just sounded like such like a solid name. I didn't think that would work.
Well, it was originally Alone, and then they changed it to, I think it was just Mars. But then because they didn't want to be confused with Mission to Mars, which was coming out in close proximity, they changed it to Red Planet.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I'm like half and half here.
You are. All right. So we have 8, 9, 10, 3 more questions. Let's see what you do with this.
Let's see.
Ryan, number 8. Which of these 2 films is reported to have used 14,000 gallons of red paint to spray the soil for their sets?
I'm going to have to go with Red Planet because you said that they were on set.
No, I
Really?
said Mission to Mars was on set.
Oh,
I said
shoot.
Red Planet was in
keep
Jordan.
flipping them.
That's the whole point of this
Oh,
game.
man, this is hard.
You think it'd be easy, right?
It's not.
Because
No,
it's
I
just
knew-
2 answers.
I knew this was going to be hard. That's why I was like, I'm ready to lose. Here we go.
Oh, well, you're putting on a brave face.
Here we go. Here we go.
All right. Number 9. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Which one of these 2 films was directed by Brian De Palma? And he is a famous director, so it's kind of on you for not knowing this one.
It's definitely on me. I'm going to have to go with Red Planet just because you said that one had a higher score.
All right.
Okay.
All right. And the final question of the game is, which film was Courtney Love originally cast as the main character, but had to drop out at the last minute because her boyfriend's ex-wife ran over her foot, leading to Natasha Hendridge being cast in the last minute?
I'm going to get this wrong, and I know it.
Yes, you are.
I'm going to go with Red Planet.
Trick question. That was actually the 2001 film Ghosts of Mars.
You jerk.
So you get a no on that one.
Okay, well, that was fun, though. But yeah, man, it makes me want to watch them again. These were good. I like these kind of like the movies that weren't like huge, big, when it came to like the sci-fi genre and stuff like this. I feel like a lot of them have like a lot to give. I don't know. I miss this kind of style of making movie.
So, adding it up, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 correct. Oh my God, Ryan, you got a split. You have 5 correct and 5 wrong.
Yeah, that's a failing grade.
So, real quick disclaimer, Ryan actually got 4 correct and 6 wrong. So he did worse than we thought. Just thought I'd tell you guys. Wanted to chime in, make sure we got the count right. So, it's a failing grade, but you still did pretty good. I mean,
Not bad. I haven't seen these in so long.
Actually, statistically, I think you did the exact average, because if you think about it, it was a 50-50 chance, and you literally got half right, half wrong.
Yeah,
So
not bad.
that could have been complete guesses, and you'd still get that score.
I don't know. Not with my bad luck mixed in.
Oh, man. So, interesting thing. The reason why I wanted to do that is a lot of those films that come in close proximity don't come within the same year. So 2000 was a big year for Mars.
Yeah.
And I had to throw in the Ghost of Mars thing because a couple things. This was a John Carpenter film, and Ice Cube starred in it with Natasha Hendridge, which, if you don't remember, was the woman who played the main alien in Species.
Was this the one where they basically became zombies on Mars?
Yes.
Is it weird that at first I thought that's what Mission to Mars was? I was mixing that
No.
with that. So what's funny? So that movie was already in my head too, and
That's
I still failed
And
it.
you still felt it. Well, Mission to Mars ended like a really hopeful note where Gary Sinise is flying off in the face of Mars spaceship to
That's
either
right.
meet aliens or expand human knowledge
That's
or
right.
something. And he's in a weird tank and it starts filling with water and he's
And
getting
what was
scared.
what was Red Planet?
And then it turns out, oh, I don't remember, but I think that robot dog attacks
remember the
Val
dog.
Kilmer.
I remember the dog. I
Tom
remember
Sizemore
Val.
is in it.
Yeah,
Carrie-Anne Moss was in that one, Red Planet. Trinity from
yeah,
Matrix, yeah.
yeah. That's so funny. I remember like bits and pieces, but I don't even remember the plot. Like other than what we read here, that With their robotic dog, they search for solutions to save a dying Earth by searching Mars, only to have the mission go terribly awry.
I mean, I gotta be honest. I listen and watch. I listen to a lot of books on Audible. I read a lot of books. I read a lot of comics. I watch a lot of movies. So when it comes to sci-fi stuff, it all blends together after a while. I got, honestly.
But honestly, there's one that stands out.
Oh, I know. Are you talking about what I think you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
That's right.
Don't run.
I believe
We are your
1997's Tim Burton film Mars Attacks.
Yes, it was so good.
So Mars Attacks, did you know it wasn't, I didn't know this at first, that it wasn't actually based on something Tim Burton came up with. It actually has a long history in pop culture that some people might not even be aware of.
I wasn't.
Yeah. So we're doing a deep dive on the origins of Mars Attacks. Take it away.
Not just a Tim Burton movie. Here at Earthling Entertainment, we love genre films. At the top of our list are more than a couple Tim Burton movies. Sticking with today's theme, we thought we would focus on one in particular, Mars Attacks. What may surprise a lot of you is that this film was not based on an old TV show or book. In fact, the origins of this IP comes from the world of trading cards. I didn't know that. Mars Attacks is a science fiction themed trading card series released in 1962 by Topps. The cards feature artwork by science fiction artists Wally Wood and Norman Saunders. The cards form a story arc which tells of the invasion of Earth by cruel, hideous Martians under the command of a corrupt Martian government who conceal the fact from the Martian populace that Mars is doomed to explode and therefore proposes colonization of Earth to turn it into their new homeworld. The cards depict futuristic battle scenes and bizarre methods of Martian attack, torture, and slaughter of humans, as well as various Earth nations being attacked.
Yeah, have you looked at any of these cards?
Never even heard of it.
Okay, so I went online just to double check, and some of them are really, really fun, and they can get a little racy, man.
Yeah?
Yeah, like there was a lot of really fun stuff. Like one where in the movie they replicated one of the cards where someone is like sticking a flower in, trying to stick it in like the Martian's gun, and they just kind of get zapped and turned to skeletons. So a lot of things from that film did take directly from these cards, but think of them as like the Garbage Pail Kids, but like cooler.
That's
like,
where my head went.
Yeah.
Yeah. The story concludes with an expeditionary force of humans volunteering to embark on a counterattack on Mars, in which the Earth force attacks the Martians in their manner, bayoneting and bullets. The Earth attack forces, after destroying the Martian cities and killing the Martians, depart just before Mars is destroyed in the predicted cataclysm, thus ensuring the peace and safety of Earth as the Martian race is seemingly doomed to extinction.
I mean, that's a cool way of ending it. The movie went a different route.
They
So, instead of us going to Mars and attacking, maybe it would have been a sequel. In the film, the aliens are destroyed by yodeling music. When played very loud, causes their brains to explode.
To be
And
fair, it does that to me too.
I haven't done a deep dive on the cards enough to know if that ever came into play in the cards, but I'm not sure it did.
No, it just it kind of made sense. I think it was just a good idea. It worked so well.
They're like, we're going to cut like so many millions off the budget if we don't try to send people to Mars.
Right.
If we all take care of this on Earth, it's going to work out a lot better for us.
It's like
financially.
we spent all of our money on Danny DeVito and the one and
Oh, such a good cast.
dude, yeah, and
Vin Rhames is in it.
what was the it's not unusual to be loved by who's
Was
that?
it Tony Danza?
No. He's like a lounge singer. He's like
I
a,
know. I just can't think of his
yeah,
name.
yeah, but yeah, I know. We're terrible. We can't remember it, but he was in it. Like they had such a crazy cast. They had the dude who played James Bond from GoldenEye in it. I forget his name.
Pierce
like
Brosnan.
Thank you very much. Like, dude, like, yeah, what a cast.
Do you know the president's? I think there was the president's daughter was Natalie Portman, a young Natalie Portman, and it was a year or two before she played Princess Amidala.
Yep. And then we had Jack Nicholson playing a couple roles.
He played two roles. Yeah.
Yeah. He was the cowboy guy and he was the president.
Yeah, that was such a good movie. I do have such fond memories. I mean, Sarah Jessica Parker was in that. Glenn Close was in that.
Yes.
Annette Bening was in that. Martin Short was in that. Even
Mhm.
Michael J. Fox. In one of Michael J. Fox's last like roles where he was just playing himself
Mhm.
or not doing a voice or having to use his illness as part of the character.
Tom
So
Jones.
Tom Jones, that was it.
That was it. I just
Yeah.
thought of it.
Yeah, man. Oh, such a good movie. And anyways, let's probably jump back into that.
Backstories included how the invading Martians used growth rays to transform insects into monsters to attack cities.
I mean, that seems like a really good idea.
That'd be horrible.
Yeah.
Differing.
I mean, just cockroaches would be scary and gross, right?
Mhm.
And no one wants to get eaten by a cockroach. But you know what would be the most horrifying thing? A giant termite.
Yeah, a termite.
A
Yeah.
termite. Do you remember the Woody Allen film? It was CGI. It came out around the same
Yes.
years as Bug's Life, and it had
Ants.
ants, and they had to fight with the termites, and
And
they were
that's funny.
shooting acid out of their heads.
Yes, and that's funny that you mentioned because that's another film that came out the same year as Bug Life.
Exactly.
So yeah.
It happens all the time. People look it up. On a much different scale, there was a B movie version of Snakes on a Plane, and it was Snakes on a Train.
Oh well.
Yeah, they really stretched for that one.
So we got giant insects attacking cities, differing geographic regions dealing with the Martian invasion, Earth factions such as rival urban gangs, and national differences having to be set aside for the sake of repelling the invasion. Or the sociology of Mars, in this case, a small tribe of peaceful Martians who hope to find a way to escape the destruction of Mars without attacking Earth, but their voice being overruled by the corrupt Martian government.
I mean, doesn't that sound topical for the 60s, right?
I mean, yeah.
I mean, think about that, though. I'm imagining Krypton. I'm imagining Superman, because a lot of versions of Krypton about to be, explode is that it was an environmental problem, much like people are saying global warming is going to be for us.
Yep.
And, there was Jor-El trying to be like, hey, guys, we got to change our ways or the planet's going to explode. And no one listened. So that was that's in Mars Attacks. I mean, a lot of save the planet you're sleeping on messages out there.
I mean, it goes hand in hand.
It does. But the idea of there being a faction of Martians who didn't want war is a very, not just topical, but interesting part of the cards that was not translated into the film either.
Not at all.
Yeah,
No.
not even a little bit.
The cards proved popular with children, but depictions of explicit gore and implied sexual content caused an outcry, leading to the company to halt production. The cards have since become collector's items, with certain cards commanding over $3,500 at auction.
That's pretty impressive for cards. I mean, this is a piece of cardboard, guys, except baseball cards and sports cards. Whew. Having that worth that much money.
To the right buyer. I mean, that's the whole point, right?
Yeah, I recently found out that there was this huge surge in sports cards from 1985 to like 1995, and pretty much anything that you have from that 10 years isn't worth anything because they just made too many. Like they just went pig shit and just kind of printed a crazy amount.
And that's what they say with a lot of things. Like you don't realize how mass produced a lot of things are, and they're really not even worth as much as you think.
Yeah. Even things that get signed, it depends on how many signatures they get. Because
Yeah.
I have a couple books that are signed, but because that particular author went on a very long book tour, all of the first editions essentially are written with their signature.
Yep.
And so much so that if you have an edition of the book that is not signed, it is actually worth more than a signed edition.
That's funny.
Isn't that weird?
So in the 1980s, Topps began developing merchandise based on the Mars Attacks storyline, including mini comic books and card reprints. An expanded set of 100 cards called Mars Attacks Archives was issued in 1994 by Topps and spawned a second round of merchandising.
Merchandising.
Director Tim Burton released a feature film called Mars Attacks in 1996, based on the series, spawning a third round of merchandising. I had the action figures.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I bet that was probably the biggest round of merchandising
Oh, yeah.
because, I mean, a feature film is going to get more eyes than trading cards. I could be wrong. Maybe trading cards got more eyes in the 60s than a movie would in the mid-90s, but I think I'm safe. I think I'm right.
They also including an intercompany crossover with the Image universe titled Mars Attacks Image and published by Image Comics.
I'm going to have to look that up now. I just spent a bunch of money on eBay trying to track down those comics.
That's right. In 2012, Topps released a 50th anniversary expanded set of 75 cards called Mars Attacks Heritage, leading to a fourth round of merchandising that continued into 2017 with the release of an official sequel series, Mars Attacks: The Revenge.
And that is something I want to look up too. Oh, but I mean, it's just when something is based on old IP and you don't realize it, it's kind of fun because if you like that thing that brought you in, for me, it's the movie, then you just discover there's more to it. There's more to the well. There's more to mine. The saddest thing is getting into a fandom or getting into like a book or a movie and having nowhere to go beyond that book or movie. I mean,
That's how I feel with Event Horizon.
yeah, that's true.
But
Well-
but no, this was really interesting. I had no idea that they had basically like you said, like a Garbage Pail Kids version of the Topps cards for Mars Attack. I didn't know. I just figured that he came up with it. And funny little tidbit, did you guys know that the reason why the skeletons were green and red when they were zapped to skeletized?
When they were just, I like the word skeletized.
Says skeletized was because it was released on Christmas Day. People
Yeah.
forget that Mars Attacks was released on Christmas Day.
Or
Like,
was supposed to be.
it was one of the two. Either it was, or I think you're right. I think I did hear that it was supposed to be, and last second it didn't. But they
either
already
way,
rendered them all green and red.
Yeah, since the skeletons are green and red, it was for Christmas.
Yeah,
You know what else we didn't mention? Jack Black. A young Jack Black is in that film.
that's right. He's the brother who dies right in the beginning.
Yeah, and he's not playing a funny character at all. It was early in his acting career, so you could tell he was actually trying to act in a role. It wasn't like when you become Vin Diesel.
He was pretty over the top.
Yeah, well, when you become like a character actor, we're like, I am The Rock, I am Vin Diesel, I am Jason Statham. Any movie you do, you're like, well, I'm going to see Vin Diesel or The Rock or Jason Statham. And now with Jack Black, I feel like every movie you see, it's Jack Black.
I agree.
But in that original, or in the early roles, he was still acting. And that character was a dumb, redneck, trailer park, I don't know, like soldier, loyal, pat on the head boy.
He was, and it's funny. I'm trying to think of what the dad, because even the dad. Oh yeah, Joe Don Baker. I've seen him in so many things. And
He was Brandy's dad in Joe Dirt.
That's right. Thank you. That's one that I know him from. He was in he was in Congo. He was the owner of the operation that sent her
Yeah.
there. Did you
Yeah,
get
yeah.
the diamond?
I think he was the original Walking Tall guy. Am I right about that? Do you see Walking Tall in there?
I don't see that. He's, oh my God. Like I couldn't even narrow it down. This dude's got so many movies. That's right. And he was in Robin Hood Men in Tights. That's right. He
Of
was in
course,
there.
yeah. Classic,
Oh my gosh.
classic.
But no, like once again, it was just, that was one more actor that I was like, ooh, we didn't mention him. What's his name? Because he's always awesome. I know there's something about him. But no, man. And then you get, we grew up. I had the toys. I remember I wanted the ray gun. They even sold the ray gun, but I don't think I
Of course
ever.
they did. How could you not sell the ray gun?
Yeah, I don't think I ever got it. But like what an iconic movie for it. Like we had Mars Attacks, we had Independence Day, we had Men in Black, we had
The
a
90s
lot.
were good for spooky stuff because it wasn't just that, dude. Like our cartoons were spooky. I mean, you had the Beetlejuice cartoon, you had Ah Real Monsters. Ah Real Monsters was a good one. There was Bump in the Night, which is a clay animation one that was really spooky. They had Tales from the Crypt Keeper, which was a kid version of
Are you afraid of the
Are
dark?
You Afraid of the Dark? And we had Goosebumps.
Mhm.
And oh man, it just kept going. We were in a spooky time. Are there as much spooky stuff for kids nowadays?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, but it's weirder. Like it's
weirder.
it's like online stuff. It's like meme stuff. It's like creepy,
It's
almost
creepy
like
pastas.
creepy pasta. Like like weird stuff like Poppy's Playtime
Instead of kids doing Are You Afraid of the Dark, they're reading about Slender Man and stabbing their friends.
and like Five Nights at Freddy's stuff like that is still like pretty big in the creepy for kids right now. I mean,
Five Nights at Freddy's was good. I like
that was good.
You know what's funny is I like the movie. I've never actually played the games. I tried playing the first game, and it's just it's not a game I personally enjoyed because you don't really do anything. You just kind of keep playing it until it's over.
Yeah,
It was a weird- it
they're
was a
like
weird one.
horror genre games are weird for me too. I don't really play them much.
Well, I like the supermassive games, which are like choose your own adventures.
Yeah.
It essentially is like a choose your own adventure. You're watching a movie and you get to make choices. It's funny because true, quote unquote, true gamers call them walking simulators. They throw a lot of shade on those games. I enjoy them because I can play them with my wife because, she makes decisions. And then if there is anything action, it's all, quick button QTEs, quick time events.
There you
So
go.
it's either like press A right now, hurry, hurry. Oh, square. Triangle.
I know those kind of games.
Yeah.
Man, the Indigo Prophecy. That was the only game like that I ever played, and I'm shocked I remember the name of it. It was for the, I believe, Xbox, not even 360, for Xbox. It came out, and that was one of those styles of games where it's like, here comes a thing, press A.
Yeah, QTEs.
Yeah.
Ah, it's fantastic.
You're right. I did play one, Indigo Prophecy. There you go, little deep lore cut there.
Love it. So, guys, I guess at the end of the day, what we're saying is, if you are a fan of Mars Attacks and you didn't know this, do a deep dive. Go on eBay, find some merchandising. You have 4 rounds of merchandising that you could just collect. And if you've never heard of Mars Attacks, I'm very surprised. But check it out. It is a fantastic film. It holds up today. It's a lot of fun. It's Tim Burton-y without being the dark Tim Burton. It's Tim Burton occasionally does vibrant colors instead of being overly dark, and this is one of those movies.
And it did get a resurgence, I think, because when I go to Spirit Halloween, they do have like a little section for Mars Attacks now.
Okay.
They do. So
it's a cool alien design, right from the cards back in the 60s.
So I think it made a comeback. It's a classic, and I think it always will be.
I agree. So, guys, you've made it to the last part of the show. And what we're going to do now is one of our Tattered Tales. Now, this is an audio drama, so it is a self-contained story. It'll take, I think this one's about 20 minutes, and it's all about a mission to Mars. I have written every single one of the Tattered Tales that has been on this show, except this one. So I want to be clear. I want to do a shout out that this Tattered Tales, which is called Dark Matter, is written by Andrew Fortunato, and it's starring Jennifer Walls, Cody Allen, L.M., and Jesse Lee Pachinko. And all of the sound design was done by Luke Fisher.
Nice.
Yeah, so want to give everybody a shout out who was involved. I would have played the Crypt Keeper in the Tattered Tales show that we used to do, so you're not going to hear me in this particular episode, but on this one, I'm credited as executive producer and host.
Nice.
Yeah. So I hope you guys enjoy this week's Tattered Tales. I say this week's because I'm so used to saying this week's. I hope you guys enjoy this installment of Tattered Tales, a little thing we like to call Dark Matter.
A cold night wind blew billows of dust across the desolate surface of Mars. On this surface, deep into the bowels of a large canyon, laid an unconscious Dwayne Pierce, commander of Romulus 1, and the first manned mission to Mars. The ship was the crowning achievement of humanity's combined intellect and curiosity, but now was nothing more than torn pieces of metal and fiberglass scattered across the Martian landscape. Disoriented, he began to pull himself from the sand. However, he couldn't get himself free. He felt around his body, soon finding that he was still strapped to his seat. The seat, with him still strapped to it, must have been ripped right out of the command module on impact, he thought. He felt around some more until he found the buckle. He unlatched it and detached himself from the seat. Once free, he pulled himself from the sand and up to his feet. He flicked on the headlamp on his helmet. The white beam cut through the darkness. He scanned the area. All he could see was ripped and mangled pieces of the ship scattered all over. No sign of the other 7 crew members. He took a moment to recompose himself and reflect on what had happened. The last thing he could remember was Mary and Neverez, Romulus' systems specialist, reporting a breach in the rear fuselage. Then, shortly after, a concussion ripped the ship. He remembered everything whirling by him in a blur, hanging on for dear life as the ship plummeted to the planet's surface. Then he blacked out. He turned on his comms.
Hello, this is Commander Pierce of the Romulus 1. Does anybody read me? Over. Hello?
Anxious, Dwayne went through and checked each channel on his comm system, but got no communication with Control or anybody else. A dreadful thought suddenly hit him. What if he was the only one left alive? Of course, that was just an assumption. If it was true, he'd need to find the habitat and find it quickly. However, the problem was he had no idea where it was or how far away he was from it. His portable navigation device on his suit used star charts for navigation on Mars. He searched his utility belt and pulled out the nav.
Shit.
Dwayne looked up at the glimmering sea of stars above him. They reminded him of when he was a child, and his father would take him to the rooftop on their East Harlem apartment to watch the night sky. The sky, with all of its vastness and mystery, used to calm him. But now all it did was make him feel alone.
Okay, Dwayne. Think. The command module orbits about every 90 minutes. So either I wait until it's in range, which can be at any moment, or this canyon's too deep for me to get any signal at all. And if the angle of orbit is less than 45 degrees, then the cliffs will block the signal completely anyway.
Dwayne checked his arm readout on his suit.
Battery 60%.
He knew at that rate he'd only get 5 to 6 hours. He didn't have time to wait for a signal. If he was going to get to higher ground, then he needed to move now. Dwayne turned and looked out at the cliffs in the moonlit distance. He estimated they were about 3 or 4 kilometers away. If he walked fast, he could get to them in less than an hour.
Well, here goes nothing.
Dwayne had been walking for half an hour when he came upon a torn piece of metal sliding from the ship's crash. Urgently, he began to search around the area. He found more. Another. Like a trail of breadcrumbs, he followed them until he came upon a giant section of the ship's main fuselage. Dwayne turned on his comms and called out for somebody, anybody.
Hello? Can anybody read me? Hello, hello?
Nothing. Dwayne moved around the fuselage and found an exposed section that had been ripped open from the explosion. He climbed inside. He pushed his way through ripped paneling and exposed wires as he came up to one of the control stations. At the station was a body.
My God.
Dwayne approached. He could see the limp body of mission geologist Kai Murashida, still trapped in his chair. His helmet shattered and his face a bloody mess. Dwayne scanned what else was left of the fuselage but found nobody else. He searched Kai's suit, checking the power system. 63%.
I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sure you won't mind me borrowing this.
As Dwayne removed Kai's battery, he heard a strange whispering coming from behind him.
Hello?
He turned, his headlamp cutting through the dark, but nothing was there, just silence. The whispers returned, coming from behind him again. This time, he saw something he couldn't quite believe. Kai's body was moving. It lurched up slowly, alive, but how could that be possible? Kai's eyes opened, but there was no pupils, just black holes. He reached out with one arm, trying to grab at Dwayne. Dwayne stumbled backwards and fell to the floor. Dwayne looked on in horror as Kai's body suddenly began to char, as if being burned in some invisible fire. His mouth shot open and called out. Within seconds, the rest of Kai's charred body began to crack and break and fall apart, the blackened ashes carried away by the wind, leaving nothing left.
What the hell?
The strange whispers continued, seeming to come from all around, getting closer and closer. On instinct, Dwayne pulled himself up to his feet and made a run for it. Dwayne emerged from the wreckage in haste, stumbling out into the dirt. He took a few steps back and waited. To his surprise, the whispers had not followed him. The images of what he had seen raced in his mind. But then he started to wonder if maybe what he had seen was just an illusion. His mind playing tricks on him. Yes, it must just be the stress of his current situation. As Dwayne continued to evaluate what had just happened, the sky suddenly lit up above him. He looked up and could see a red flare soar through the air. It wasn't far, just over the berm a few meters away. A sudden surge of excitement overtook him as he realized that he wasn't the only one left alive. He brushed all of his thoughts away and took off towards the flare. The flare fizzled out by the time Dwayne had reached the top of the berm. He gazed out upon the dark canyon landscape. Where are they? He quickly switched on his comms.
Hello? Does anybody read me? Hello? Hello?
Hello? Dwayne, is that you?
Yes! Laura?
A sudden wave of relief washed over him as the sound of mission navigator Laura Shelley's voice filled his ears.
Thank God,
Dwayne, hurry! Frank's gone mad! He's trying to kill me!
I need that battery, bitch!
Dwayne's relief quickly faded to fear.
I'm coming. Hold on!
Another flare went off, lighting up the ground around him. He could see them now, two figures fighting a few meters in the distance. Dwayne took off after them, running as fast as he could, trying to ignore Laura's screams over the comms. He made his way through the wreckage and came upon Laura struggling to fight off pilot Frank Gargano, who was on top of her.
Laura!
Help!
Frank, stop this!
Dwayne kicked Frank, knocking him off Laura, sending him tumbling over into the dirt. As Frank pulled himself back up, Dwayne moved in front of Laura to defend her. Frank's maddened eyes instantly locked onto Kai's battery in Dwayne's hand.
Give me that!
Frank, just calm down, please!
Frank charged Dwayne and tackled him to the ground. The two wrestled in the dirt, Frank trying to pry the battery from Dwayne's hands.
Stop it, Frank, you've gone mad!
I'm not mad. I'm surviving.
Laura rushed to Dwayne's side and kicked Frank off of him. Frank fell over, taking the battery with him.
Come on!
Laura helped Dwayne to his feet, and the two made a run for it. Dwayne and Laura had put a good distance between themselves and Frank when they reached a small impact crater. They slid down into it and hid, catching their breath.
Are you okay?
Yeah. Thanks. He would have killed me.
Me too. What happened?
Everything before the crash is a blur. But when I had woken up, I didn't know exactly where to go or what to do. And there wasn't anybody around, so I just headed north. That's when I found the wreckage. And Frank. He seemed okay at first. We tried to figure out how we could locate the habitat and started to scavenge for anything useful, and then all of a sudden his battery started malfunctioning. He freaked out and went crazy and tried to take my battery.
Have you heard from anybody else over the comms?
No, I tried for a while, but didn't get anything. I figured either everyone was dead or I was too far away. You?
I found Kai, but he didn't make it. I don't know about anybody else.
Laura didn't say anything. She didn't need to. The two sat in silence for a few moments as they collected themselves.
We need to find the hub. Is your nav working? I couldn't get a signal on mine.
Laura searched her gear but couldn't find it.
Damn it. I must have dropped it back there when Frank attacked me.
She thought hard for a moment, and something came to her.
Hold on. I did take a look at one of the local files on my nav right when I woke up. Thought maybe it would help me locate where I was. Maybe...
Shit. Why didn't I think of that?
Dwayne pulled out his nav. He looked through the menu and checked the locally saved maps.
Here's one. Last updated 2 days ago. How fast would the constellations move from our perspective?
They should move about 1 degree every day on Earth. If you adjust by 2 degrees, Mars orbits slower than Earth, so it should still be pretty accurate.
You're a genius.
I know.
He started inputting configuration settings. Then he pointed the camera on the nav up at the sky. The device took a few moments to sync the map data.
There.
The two examined their location. Laura pointed to an area on the screen with a yellow circle.
So, we're southwest about 15 kilometers. That means we can get there in 3 hours. If we move fast.
Hey, I'm a power walking master.
Dwayne checked his battery readout.
What's your battery at?
40%?
We'll be cutting it real close.
Then what are we waiting for?
You left your comms on. You left your comms on. I can hear you.
Dwayne and Laura jumped to their feet. They turned and could see Frank descending the crater after them.
Run!
What?
I'll catch up. Now go!
Laura ran. She started her way up the other side of the crater as Dwayne braced himself for a fight. Frank slid and stopped at the bottom of the crater. He glared at Dwayne with crazed eyes.
You guys were so stupid to leave your comms on.
Frank, stop! We can all help each other out here.
Give me your batteries. Only one of us is gonna make it back.
Dwayne dug his feet deep in the dirt. Frank wasn't going to be swayed. He was going to have to fight. Perhaps even kill.
Give it to me!
Frank charged at Dwayne. Dwayne charged at him.
Frank!
The two collided. Frank attempted to unplug Dwayne's battery from his suit. But Dwayne punched him in the stomach and tripped him, sending him into the ground. Dwayne tried to run, but Frank grabbed his foot and dragged him to the ground.
Where do you think you're going?
Dwayne struggled to pull away, but Frank jumped on top of him, trying to pry his helmet off.
I'm sorry. It's either me or you. It's either me or you.
Dwayne felt on the ground for something, anything he could use as a weapon. Frank was punching Dwayne's helmet, trying to break it. Dwayne frantically felt around. His hand found a baseball-sized rock. He gripped it tight and swung it, hitting the glass lens of Frank's helmet, cracking it.
Oh, shit.
Dwayne pushed Frank off of him. Frank screamed out as he frantically fidgeted with his helmet, trying to cover the crack.
No. Oh, my oxygen.
Dwayne smashed the rock over Frank's helmet a second time, busting a large hole. Frank fell back onto the ground. Dwayne watched as his screams fell silent. Dwayne stood over him. His head was filled with mixed emotions. Frank was his friend. They had spent a lot of time together in training. They had shared stories of family and friends, almost everything about their lives. Then again, the fear of death can change a person.
Why? It didn't have to be this way.
Dwayne released the rock. It dropped like a heavy anchor onto the ground. As Dwayne turned to leave, he suddenly heard those ominous whispers again, the same ones he heard when he had found Kai. Dwayne looked on in horror as Frank's charred body broke apart into ashy pieces and were absorbed into the sand. He closed his eyes and tried wiping the image from his mind.
This isn't real. This isn't real. It can't be happening.
When he reopened his eyes, Frank was gone, and so were the strange whispers. Dwayne emerged from the crater thinking about what he had just done and what he had just seen. Was this real? He thought to himself. What about Laura? Was she even real? Dwayne bent down and grabbed a handful of sand. He opened his palm and let the sand slip through his fingers. The sand, the rocks, the whole damn world. Was it even real?
Dwayne, do you hear me? Dwayne?
The sound of Laura's voice woke Dwayne from his thoughts.
I'm here. Where are you?
Dwayne looked around but could not see her.
Oh, thank God. What about Frank?
He's dead.
Well, hold on. Let me turn on my headlamp. I'm on a boulder. You see me?
Dwayne looked out into the distance. He could see Laura's headlamp.
Yeah, I see you.
He took a few steps forward and then paused.
Shit, the battery.
Dwayne, don't worry about it.
But
We can't waste any more time.
She was right. But what would being right cost them? Dwayne put his thoughts behind him. He turned and made his way to Laura. They had been walking for over 2 hours. During that time, they had traversed sandy dunes, hills, valleys, and now had found themselves in a narrow pathway on the side of a steep cliff that led up to the top of the canyon. They were almost to the hub, but Laura was struggling to walk. She had fallen and twisted her ankle on a sandy dune a few meters back, and Dwayne had to carry her up on his shoulder.
I'm sorry. I can't.
Come on. You can't give up now.
I can't. I can't.
Yes, you can.
Laura's leg shook violently and finally gave out. She fell to the ground. Dwayne attempted to get her back to her feet, but she refused.
Just go on without me.
I'm not leaving you here. Now come on.
With all the strength he had left, Dwayne lifted Laura back up to her feet. Her life support alarm started to beep. She didn't have much time, and neither did he.
Come on, Laura. Walk with me. Stay with me. We've made it this far. I will not leave you.
With a surge of desperation, he dragged Laura along.
Let me go. Let me go.
We're almost there, Laura. Stay with me. Laura? Laura?
He shook her. Her limp body didn't move. Her life support alarm had stopped beeping. She was gone. His mind was swirling with emotions. They were all gone now. He was all that was left. The commander. He wasn't even worthy of that title, he thought to himself. He was supposed to keep his crew safe, and instead he let them die. And now he was going to die. Dwayne laid Laura gently down on the ground.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
His life support alarm started to beep. He checked his readout one last time. Oxygen levels weren't registering anymore. It was already getting harder to breathe. He had run out of time. Like a hunter on the prowl for its prey, the strange whispers had returned. It had followed him all this way. But why? How? The mere sound of it chilled him to the bone. What did it want? Dwayne looked over his shoulder. He could see pitch blackness rising over the cliff. He turned back towards the horizon. Dawn was approaching. For a moment, he decided he would just sit and accept his fate. But then, something caught his eye. In the distance, less than a kilometer away, was lights. It was the habitat. Dwayne suddenly felt a surge of hope. Maybe he could make it, or at least he had to try. He pulled himself to his feet, mustering all of the energy he had left, and made one last run for it. He ran as fast as his legs would let him, kicking up dirt and rocks under his feet. He fought through the pain. Behind him, he could hear the whispers still after him, drawing ever closer. He was within a few meters of it now. He could see the white cylindrical buildings, the rover parked out front. He was almost there, but he was fading. Each breath felt as if he was drowning. His legs slowed to a labored stagger as he dragged himself along. He tripped over something and tumbled to the ground. He scrambled, trying to get back to his feet, but his legs were too weak. His eyes jumped in and out of focus. He felt around under him, grasping onto the object that he had tripped over. As his eyes regained focus, he realized that he was on top of a body that was face down in the dirt. Another astronaut. Confused, he slowly turned the body over. Within the helmet was a skeletal face decayed by years of isolation. When he looked down at the dead astronaut's name tag, the real terror struck him. Stitched into the suit, in dusty red lettering, was his own name. Dwayne fell backwards. The whispers right behind him. He was now surrounded on all sides by darkness. It blocked out the entire landscape, and he could no longer see the lights of the habitat. The whispers were loud, piercing. He wanted to run. His body was paralyzed. He suddenly felt a warm sensation throughout his whole body. He was burning up. He looked down at his gloved hands, could see them turning charcoal black before his very eyes. They cracked and broke away. A cold night wind blew billows of dust across the desolate surface of Mars. On this surface, deep in the bowels of a large canyon, laid an unconscious commander, Dwayne Pierce. He suddenly awoke, with no recollection of what had happened or what was about to happen. That his tragic death was stuck in limbo, to be replicated again and again, just as it always had been, and always would be, for eternity. The end.
All right. So, did you enjoy that, Tattered Tales?
Oh, dude, by the way, the dude that we were talking about earlier that
Yeah?
you said was in Walking Tall, the guy named Joe Don Baker, he totally was in Walking Tall, 1973.
Oh, right.
And he's
wow.
still with us. He's 89 years old.
Well, there you go. Another reason to watch Mars Attacks. He played Jack Black's dad.
That's right.
Yeah. But anyways, jumping back to this Tattered Tales. Did you guys like that? I hope you did. There'll be more Tattered Tales randomly throughout our show. But for this episode, for this bottle episode, this all about Mars episode, we are going to call it a day. We've
Put the
made
cork
it.
in it. Put the cork in the bottle.
We're done.
That's right, man. And what a trip we have had to Mars today. Please, like we said earlier, make sure to email us at Earthling Entertainment Podcast at gmail.com or to message us on our Facebook. If there's anything you want to add, anything you want us to bring up on our next episode, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, that's right. And if you are a fan of the show, you can follow us on Instagram. You can follow us on TikTok. You can follow us on Facebook, and you, of course, could always help out the show by hitting that download button. Downloading the episode wherever you listen to this podcast is the best way to support the show.
And your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to share this podcast with a coworker, with a friend, with a fellow Earthling.
Ha ha ha! All of us here from Earthling Entertainment. See ya!
We come in peace.
We leave in violence! No, it's peace. It's
Oh,
fine. It's
okay.
fine.
Oh,
Yeah,
Whew, I wasn't ready.
yeah. I might knock over a shopping cart, but that's about it.
Okay, well, do it. Do it.
Punk rock.
Yeah.
See you next week.
See ya.